America is in shock. A conservative icon is dead, a late-night comedian is silenced, and a fiery congresswoman is raising the alarm. This is the story of Charlie Kirk's murder, Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, and Jasmine Crockett's fight for free speech. Charlie Kirk was more than just a right-wing activist. To his supporters, he was a voice of conservative youth, a fighter for their values, a symbol of resistance against liberal America. And then, in one brutal act of violence, he was gone. His death sent shockwaves through the nation, igniting grief, anger, and suspicion. But the story didn't end with his death. It took a darker turn. On the late-night stage, comedian Jimmy Kimmel delivered a biting monologue. Some say it was satire, others call it cruelty. Within hours, the network suspended him. No explanation, no due process, just silence. I tell jokes for a living. I didn't think a joke could be more dangerous than a bullet. And then came Jasmine Crockett, a name America has learned to recognize for her fierce debates and her unapologetic defense of free expression. She did not stay quiet. She accused the system of censorship, of using Kirk's death not to heal the country, but to tighten control. If they can take Jimmy Kimmel off the air for words, then none of us are safe. Not me, not you, not America. In a nation already divided, the tragedy of Kirk and the silencing of Kimmel collided into one explosive debate. Is America still a land of free speech, or is fear writing the rules? This is not just a story about a comedian, a politician, or a fallen activist. It is about the soul of America, and the fight has only begun. The suspension of Jimmy Kimmel didn't just silence a late-night host, it sent a chilling message across the nation. No one, no matter how powerful or famous, is beyond the reach of censorship. Supporters of Charlie Kirk claimed Kimmel crossed the line, that mocking the death of a conservative leader was indecent, even dangerous. Fox News pundits called it a national disgrace. Online voices demanded punishment. This isn't comedy, this is hate speech disguised as late-night television. But the backlash sparked an equal and opposite reaction. Progressives, activists, and defenders of free expression saw something more sinister, a precedent where jokes could end careers, where tragedy became a tool for political control. Today they silence a comedian, tomorrow they silence a congresswoman, and the day after that they silence you. If we allow fear to decide what is spoken, then freedom itself has already been killed. Crockett's words hit a nerve. Her critics accused her of exploiting Kirk's death, of defending cruelty, but her supporters saw bravery, the willingness to say what others were too afraid to admit, that censorship, once unleashed, never stops. Kirk was assassinated. Show some respect. Respect doesn't mean silence. Respect means we confront the truth, even when it hurts. And yet, beneath the outrage, beneath the shouting, one question lingers in the shadows. Was Jimmy Kimmel suspended because of his words, or because his words hit too close to the truth? Was this about protecting America from hate, or protecting power from accountability? This isn't just about Kirk, or Kimmel, or Crockett. This is about whether America can survive its own fear of freedom. The nation is now at a breaking point. Charlie Kirk's death became a rallying cry for conservatives. Jimmy Kimmel's suspension became a symbol of censorship for liberals. And Jasmine Crockett has become the lightning rod, caught between outrage and admiration. In Washington, the debate turned explosive. House Republicans demanded an official condemnation of Jimmy Kimmel. Some even suggested legislation to hold entertainers accountable for so-called hate speech. Meanwhile, Democrats accuse conservatives of exploiting Kirk's death to wage war on the First Amendment. We cannot allow our public figures to be mocked in death. This kind of rhetoric fuels division and violence. What fuels division isn't comedy. What fuels division is silencing the voices that dare to question power. Media outlets fanned the flames. Right-wing networks painted Kimmel as a villain, a soulless entertainer mocking tragedy. Progressive channels cast him as a martyr for free speech. And through it all, Jasmine Crockett's speeches went viral, shared millions of times on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Hashtag Free Kimmel. Hashtag Justice for Kirk. Hashtag Crockett Speaks. But beneath the noise, something deeper was unfolding. Ordinary Americans began asking, if a late-night comedian can be silenced, who's next? A podcaster, a journalist, a protester in the street. Kimmel's joke was in bad taste. But bad taste isn't a crime. Tell that to the networks afraid of losing sponsors, afraid of losing power. This isn't just about left versus right. It's about whether truth, satire, and criticism can survive in a country where tragedy is weaponized, where censorship becomes the reflex to silence discomfort. And then Jasmine Crockett issued her most provocative warning yet. Mark my words, if free speech falls today, democracy will fall tomorrow, and that collapse will not come with a bang, it will come with silence. The stage is set for a showdown, between grief and laughter, between tragedy and freedom, between silence and truth. The final act of this drama unfolded not in comedy clubs or congressional hearings, but in the hearts of Americans watching from their living rooms. A nation grieving a murdered activist, a comedian silenced, a congresswoman demanding answers, and one question burning: what happens next? In a statement, ABC claimed Jimmy Kimmel's suspension was about protecting public sensitivity. But critics saw cowardice, a network bowing to political pressure. Supporters of Charlie Kirk mourned his loss, but many also celebrated Kimmel's punishment, framing it as justice. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett stood firm, her voice echoing across America's digital town squares. We honor Kirk's life not by silencing jokes, but by ensuring freedom survives. Because freedom of speech is not about protecting what we love to hear, it's about protecting what we hate to hear. The stakes could not be higher. If satire can be outlawed, if political commentary can be silenced, then democracy itself stands on trial. What begins with comedians can end with journalists, activists, even elected officials. In the end, this is not just about Charlie Kirk's death, not just about Jimmy Kimmel's words, not even just about Jasmine Crockett's defiance. This is about America's identity, a nation born on the promise of liberty, now questioning if that promise still lives. And so we are left with a choice. Will we live in a country where tragedy is used to silence, or in a nation where even the harshest truths can be spoken? The future of free speech in America depends on that answer. If you believe these conversations matter, if you believe truth deserves a voice, then don't stay silent. Subscribe, comment your thoughts, and share this video. Because the fight for freedom begins with us.